Hey, George.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Charlie Kane, I haven't seen that face in a while. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing fantastic. A little tired. Late flight back in from Phoenix last night. So. Good morning, Melissa.
Hello, George. How are you?
Good. Mashid signed in as Keon again.
Everybody is so quiet.
We're getting ready.
George, I see you couldn't just stay retired, could you?
Now I'm busier now than I ever was as a cop.
Yeah, I hear you. I took a 50% pay cut to work twice as hard.
Melissa, is Mike gonna be here today?
No, Michael,
He's in
unfortunately, no.
Orlando.
Yep, he is in Orlando today, so he won't be in this meeting, and I just got word Bob will not be in this meeting either. So, I might be running the meeting here. Abigail, in a long email chain, Abigail was, stated that she might be running it, or Gina's here. Yay,
Good morning.
Gina will
Good
run it
morning.
as our chair, as our vice chair.
I know, sorry, I just read that email right when I came in. So if you can keep the agenda up, that'll help me because I don't have it open.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, well, we're a
people
minute
are-
late.
People are still rolling in, maybe give it
Good.
another minute and then we'll, if you want to start.
Yeah, okay. I'll wait on your command. How about that?
Sounds good.
Melissa, will you be up in Trinity this afternoon?
I will.
Okay.
Are you going to be?
I will be.
Yeah. Yep.
I will not be.
Why not, Brenton?
Julie will be going.
Okay. Nice.
Janice, if you show up, I have some Super Bowl memorabilia I brought back from Phoenix for you.
Nice. I will take it.
All right.
Wow.
You too, Melissa.
Sure, George, sure. All right, it is 9:33. Do we want to get started, Gina?
Absolutely. So just to keep everyone engaged in this virtual format, I think we should go around the room. So I'm gonna go down the list of names here, and if you could just say who you are and what agency or organization you represent, that'd be great. So I'm Gina Torres, and I'm with the Hillsborough County Transportation Planning Organization. Do transportation planning for the county and the cities, like Vision Zero and other things. So I have someone online that numbers, your phone number ends in 97. Looks like the area code starts with a 3. So if you could unmute yourself and say hi.
Yeah, it's Jim Reiser, Tampa Police Department. I got on a little late, so looks like I didn't miss anything.
Hey, Jim, glad you're here. No, we wouldn't start without you. Susan? And Susan.
Good morning.
There you are.
Good morning, Susan Boda. I'm with Benish, and we do transportation planning and a lot of other things too, but glad to be with you.
Awesome. Brenton?
Brenton Mosier, USF Qatar, Center for Urban Transportation Research.
Next up is probably is Anthony, but your last name is so long, Shamant, that it cuts you off there. I think it's Anthony.
Yes, Anthony Shamant with JMT, Safety Consultant to DOT.
Awesome, thank you. Dave O'Neill.
Yeah, Dave O'Neill with the Air Force out at the MacDill Safety Office.
All right, great. Happy to have you. Ellen.
Ellen Snelling from Tampa Alcohol Coalition. Good morning.
Morning. Looks like next we have Swara.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Swara Farheen, and I'm with Atkins Global Tampa office. Thank you.
Abigail.
Hey, y'all. Abigail Flores. I manage the safety programs for Hillsborough County. Glad to be a part of this discussion.
Fred Baxter.
Fred Baxter with the City of Plant City, Traffic Ops Manager.
Fred. George.
Good morning, George Edmiston. I'm with Benish. I'm also a consultant to District 7 Safety Office.
Thank you. Jessica.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jessica Rohr with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office Grants Research and Development Unit.
Fantastic. Charles.
My name is Charles Kane. I'm the District 4 Law Enforcement Liaison for FDOT. Actually, I'm a grant-funded employee through the University of North Florida. And I just recently moved to the Villages, so I tried to retire. They did not let me retire. And I'm somewhat in limbo right now, trying to help out Janice and the rest of our team up here in North Central Florida.
Oh, you're going to love it. Keith.
Hi, Keith Pippin, USF Police Department. I'm over operations here, operations captain.
Fantastic. Keon.
Oh, okay. So I'm not Keon, I'm Mashid. I'm signed in as Keon.
Sorry.
But I'm happy to be here. Good morning, Mashid Araste, American Quality Consultants, FDOT Safety Ambassador.
Okay, perfect. Glad you're here. Kevin.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Amig. I'm a traffic coordinator with the City of Plant City Traffic Operations.
Fantastic. Dawn.
Good morning, Dawn Lewis, Tampa General Hospital Trauma Program.
Hey, Dawn. I need to talk to you sometime soon about your events. Lisa.
Lisa Silva, Hillsborough TPO. I coordinate school transportation here. And I also am the Livable Roadways Liaison, which I'm glad to say does not conflict with this meeting any longer. So there's more of us that can participate.
Yay.
I'm on Gina's team.
She's great too. All right, Janice, you're up.
Good morning, Janice Martinez, Law Enforcement Liaison for DOT here in the Tampa Bay area.
We have Melissa next.
I don't know which Melissa it is since there's two of us on the meeting.
Kinchelo.
Oh, okay.
I'm Melissa Kinchelo, the Crossing Guard Unit for the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office.
Great. Michael White.
Michael White, I'm with the Tampa Police Department. I'm the corporal with the DUI unit.
Great. Happy to have you. And then we have Melissa Shepard, of course. Hi.
Hello, everybody. I'm Melissa Shepard with JMT, consultant to FDOT District 7.
And if there's anyone who came on after we started this or that I missed, just unmute yourself if you don't mind and just say hi, and then we'll get going.
Hi, Kelly Fearon with City of Tampa.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, guys.
Lori Poleo, JMT.
Perfect. Anyone else? All right. What was someone going to say anything?
I was going to say we have a couple more. We've got Brenton Mosier.
Did I miss Brenton? I'm sorry, Brenton.
No.
Speak. say hi, Brenton.
You did not miss me. I introduced myself, Brenton Mosier, USF Cutter Center for Urban Transportation Research. I was one of the first ones.
You're so important that we like to hear from you twice. I think that's
what about
the truth.
Scott Friedman?
Is Scott on here? Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining. We have a nice group and it's a nice showing. I'm really comfortable with this Teams format. So if you raise your hand, I'll definitely see that and I'll recognize you, and don't be afraid to do that, or you can put something in the chat if you're so inclined to do so. So let's keep this, stay engaged. So let's just jump right in to our first item. the approval of the minutes, I will admit that I did not review the minutes, so I would, probably be lying if I were to make the motion that we approve the minutes. But if anyone has seen that, actually, if you really, I don't think we have to follow Robert's Rules of Order here, but if you see something that you don't agree with, that would probably be the most helpful. So we'll move past this, but if you do have something that you'd like to change or that you want to correct in the minutes, just let us know, put it in the chat, whatever, speak up if you saw something. Do you want an official move action item, Melissa? Does that matter to you?
I mean, this has happened every other meeting, so I feel like maybe it should happen. Like if people want to take time and look at it through the meeting, and then like maybe towards the end of the meeting, if we can get an approval, that would work.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone will be paying attention as we're talking, but you can also scroll through the minutes. That would be helpful. I'll come back to that at the end. Let's hear about, we have pedestrian, bicycle, motorcycle safety updates. Sure, there's a lot going on. So who would like to share some updates on those topics? And you can jump in or you can raise your hand, either way.
Oh, me, pick me.
Okay, you're up. Who is that, Brenton? It sounds like
This is Brenton, yes.
Okay.
So the big bicycle thing we have is on Friday, March 17th. We are doing our 9th annual Temple Terrace Bike with the Mayor. So that will be 8 a.m. starting at the Rec Center complex. We'll have commemorative shirts, little 4-mile ride. It's always a lot of fun. So that's Friday at March 17th.
And where's the meeting spot again?
It's at the Temple Terrace Family Recreation Complex.
Okay. And just to jump in and add that Mayor Ross is really active and on our TPO board, and he's just doing such a great job, and I'm just appreciate having him, that I'd love to come if I can. I think I'll check my calendar on that one. Are they giving away shirts again?
Yes.
If you want a t-shirt,
They're going to
Come
be
on.
green because it's St. Patrick's Day, so.
sounds great.
Of course.
Okay, other motorcycle bike updates. I know we have maybe the Safety Coalition. I don't attend those for motorcycle anymore. If anyone wants to give a little update on anything interesting that came out of that meeting. Okay, Janice. Were you
Jim
there?
Riser, TP. Hello?
Oh, right.
Maybe,
Jim
yeah, yeah.
can speak about it.
I would say Jim would be the best person to talk about what they're doing in Tampa.
So with the coalition meeting, I did have officers attend to it. I believe, and I'm trying to remember everything here, that we're working with the state to verify that officers are issuing the proper citation to these motorcyclists that are not licensed, get the word out that it's not criminal. I know that they're continuing to implement their plan for the 2024 year and through 2023, the remainder of 2023. Get the word out about the motorcycle safety SMART programs. And on that note, we started our SMART program for 2023 in partnership with the FDOT grant. First class was in February. I believe we had 15 graduate that class. You have a waiting list still as of this time. And we're looking to hopefully do 7 classes through the year for motorcycle safety through September 30th. Then we also have several open practice days for that. It's a concentrate area for us right now because we were up in motorcycle fatalities in the city of Tampa last year. So hopefully we can make an impact and get that down. As far as the pedestrian safety, we're continuing to work in partnership with IPTM and the University of North Florida on the pedestrian safety initiative. Several new areas opened up in the city to try and do the education and enforcement along the roadways. It's still primarily in the education phase, trying to get the word out. People use the crosswalks and trying to get those pedestrian fatalities down. And so far, for this year, we're at 3 fatalities total in the city of Tampa. The pedestrian fatality we did have was kind of an unusual accident. It's not your typical walking along the roadway or crossing in front of traffic, and that's still under investigation at this time. So hopefully we can make a dent in these fatalities even further this year after we were down 26% last year.
Thank you. Janice, did you want to add something? I thought you took it.
So yeah, so I mean, anybody's been following the news. I mean, our bridges are always hot topic for the motorcycles. St. Pete has had a crazy amount of crashes over there. Some absolutely horrific. With some, we had a 13-year-old that was, chopped in half. I don't know if anybody saw that on the news. And so kudos to Hillsborough. So I don't know if we have anybody from the sheriff's office on here besides the grant people. They actually did a mobilization, and it was multi-agency, and just to crack down on these street racers. We did some tip cards from the safety office that incorporates the consequences of not only racing, but being a spectator or being a driver in a car that attends these street racing events. So those tip cards are coming out, but just kudos to all of our Tampa Bay area that they took the initiative to put a task force together and start cracking down on these street racers. Something's got to give.
Yeah. I'll just add that when we approach safety issues in like planning and road design, it almost just all of the normal things that we would look at don't seem to apply to motorcycles, other than maybe slowing traffic speeds down if it's possible. Like adding a crosswalk is not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's such a different beast to try to solve or to, reverse the trends. And they're really like 17.5% increase in Hillsborough of fatalities. Yeah. So it's just heartbreaking, really.
It really is. The 13-year-old over in St. Pete that got killed, his father was actually charged. They were spectators and they were at this event. And if anybody's seen the video, it's absolutely horrific, literally cut in half. And they charged the dad. And so I've been following a little bit on that on the media side, and the comments that people are making that you're adding insult to injury by taking the dad to jail after he's just lost his son. But at some point in time, we have to what are you doing bringing your kid to a street racing motorcycle event at midnight and the Tampa Bay area? But anyway, he was charged, and so kudos to the agencies for getting out there and trying to put a stop to it. So maybe the next 13-year-old won't have that done to him.
We don't have any places where people can legally speak, right? Maybe you could answer this, Sergeant Reiser, or are you Sergeant or you're something else now? Sorry.
No, Sergeant Reiser, you're right.
Okay. Is there a place that people can legally go ride, race? That would be great. I think if we had like a sanctioned place that people could do it.
So funny enough, there is actually, go ahead, Jim.
So your closest racetrack would be Bradenton off State Road 64, I believe. So, and then truthfully, we may lose that in the coming years. There's a push down there for the developers to rezone that property because there's housing developments going in that area. So, and then they're building one up in Brooksville that kind of does the drifting they like to do through these intersections. But the street takeovers, there's a few groups that run around the state and organize these meets, and Corporal White has probably dealt with this on midnight shift out there. And they're the street racing and the tricks and hanging out the window and doing the donuts in the intersections. That's one component of it, but they also like to wave firearms around, and there's a lot of, let's put it this way, our firearms unit is intimately involved in these street racing takeovers because of the gun aspect. And then I think over Gasparilla weekend, we made 14 arrests. I think we seized like 9 guns. There's a bunch of narcotics charges. It was all over the media. And then the sheriff's office ended up doing their own operation and built on top of ours out in the county, because when we ran them out of the city, they went out to the county. And then I understand that during Gasparilla weekend, they went to Orlando and were not well received by the Orange County Sheriff's Office. So it's a problem that is stretching across the I-4 corridor all the way down the turnpike to Miami. It's just, they'll hit these cities they'll call them ride outs, or these takeover events during the weekend, and then law enforcement, we just have to be on top of it. And usually a few arrests are made, word gets around, but they're not using your typical social media. You're using these alternate sites that are locked down. It's hard for us to get intel on them unless we get some sort of inside track, and I don't believe we've been able to do that yet. So it's really just a lot of surveillance. The helicopter has to watch for it, but we're looking at, the traffic is important. Don't get me wrong. The traffic charges are important, but when you're looking at a gun charge, and there's other charges on top of that, or felonies, they do significant time. So that's kind of the angle Tampa Police Department's taking. We're going after these guys that are armed and doing this, going after the organizers. Hopefully we can make an impact, but right now we're not well liked by these groups, but that could change. You know, how long can we keep this up? It's a manpower issue too, and it's exhausting. So in Gasparilla weekend, the units that were assigned to that, they worked pretty much 18 hours straight for 3 days trying to keep it under control, and we did a pretty good job. So that whole car culture is ruining the car show scene. There's a bunch of things that's going on. There's a lot of people into the car thing that are against it, but it's this social media, you know, anti-government thing that's catching on, and now it's going over it's affecting the traffic area. So kind of long-winded about that, but it's multifaceted, and it's going to take a while to work on, and it's really going to take some legislation where these guys are going to be impacted right now, seize their car. But there's bills in the legislature right now, and I don't know exactly what they involve, but it's an enhancement to all those statutes that are already in place. So hopefully they get that passed this spring.
No, thank you for that input. I don't envy any of the law enforcement having to work and deal with this problem. Janice, did you want to add? Anybody want to add anything?
Yeah, just kudos. They did back to back, like Jim said. You know, TPD had it one weekend, and the sheriff's office picked it up the next weekend, and they just had all kinds of really great, you know, intel that went into it. They got their street crime guys involved. So when you get together and you just do one thing, then you get the drugs and the guns and the warrants and the bikes, and you get everything off the road. So you know, it's just a domino effect. But yeah, so I mean, hate that, you know, that they're in Orlando now, but you know, kudos to us for, you know, at least making a presence out there, and this week something's got to be done. But yeah, kudos to our law enforcement people. They really made an effort out there.
Any other ped, bike, and motorcycle updates? I know that sometimes these topics also, whatever you might be thinking of that you might want to share, fit in another category of our agenda, but you're welcome to speak up now if you'd like. If not, we'll move to education, which probably covers a lot of also the topic of bike, ped, and motorcycle safety. Anyone want to share on education?
I can share on PED. So this is Abigail with Hillsborough County. So we this year are updating our PED methodology. So we have a PED program which looks at corridors that we can retrofit for enhanced pedestrian facilities for access and for safety. So this year we're taking that program, which currently has over 100 PED projects identified. So we're taking this program and we're going to take the whole unincorporated Hillsborough County roadway network and put it through a methodology for pedestrians. So the methodology evaluates risk, exposure, and network quality for pedestrians. So we put the whole roadway network through that, and then we're able to rank the roadway corridors on how friendly they are to pedestrians, right? So then we're working on that this year to update that. Then I'll have scores for all of my roadways, non-locals, on how ped friendly they are. And so that will help me to, when residents say, hey, I want sidewalk, I'll be able to say, oh, that is in our high risk, or no, that's a low risk. So it helps me with the equity to prioritize those areas that need it most. And part of our methodology, we're going to use the TPO criteria for equity, and we've got the complete streets criteria now. So we're going to update it with all this great information that we have. So look forward to sharing that with you guys.
Sorry, that's great. Thank you, Abigail, for sharing that. Last call for any of topics of this topic anyway. Any other input? We'll move to education. We'd like to share.
I have quite a bit to share.
Go ahead, Brenton.
So starting off last Thursday, Julie and our colleague Vanessa and I were in Valencia Lakes down in Waimalma, and we did a walk, bike, drive safety presentation and a helmet fitting for the seniors there. One of the reasons I bring that up is because we get a lot of comments that other parts of the county don't receive a lot of attention. So I just wanted to let everyone know that we do cover all of District 7 in our educational efforts. Next, we have USF just executed a contract with the FDOT that had federal flow-through funding from the Hillsborough TPO for a high injury network project. So there are 7 of the Hillsborough County Vision Zero high injury networks that we are going to be working out on the scope and sort of coming up with innovative ways to help reduce crashes on those roadways. And Jean, I don't know if you had anything else to add about that.
I would. Thank you for letting me just jump in because we as the Hillsborough County, the city, the DOT, we've been really looking at how to get those top 50 most, the location where the highest fatalities and serious injuries are happening. And definitely came up with some really good road redesigns for some of those. But when you look at our #1 highest roadway, most dangerous, I guess you could call it, it was State Road 60 through Brandon. And it's like, what do you do with that kind of a bear of a roadway? And I really like the approach, at least to have these like geofencing where people can receive messages on their devices. I don't know, it happens right then and there. So they're not reading it while they're driving, or more than likely they're just at a stoplight. But I really love that approach because there was hard to figure out how can we get those messages out. And I'm not even sure yet what the messages will be, but I know that it'll be something that'll really hopefully make these motorists aware of both the hazards or the unsafe conditions, or that there might be some pedestrians ahead or whatever it might be. So I really appreciate that one in particular being on that list. So thank you, Brenton, for working with DOT on that.
And the only other thing I have separate from that project is we are doing a geofencing project in combination with the road resurfacing that's being done on State Road 39, Paul Buckman Highway from Knights Griffin Road to the Pasco County line. They are doing some resurfacing, restriping, adding turn lanes. And so we are doing some workforce awareness geofencing to go along with that project that will start sometime in the middle of March and run for about a month.
It's awesome. Seems like I have a comment for everything, but I really do. I'll try not to do that. But I remember, I've been in this job for a while, and there was a doctor that was such an avid cyclist that he would ride from that area of town, like kind of pretty rural State Road 39 into Plant City. And so just when you think that who in the world is going to be out cycling or walking or whatever, there are definitely people, residents, that are dependent on those modes or just want to be healthier, whatever it might be. So I'm sure if he's still around and out there, he's going to really appreciate that, having some facilities to ride on instead of sharing, the lane with the motorists. Do we have other education updates?
It's Mike White with TPD. I'm not sure if this falls under education, but
Sure.
I was told to talk about basically the golf carts and the low speed vehicles.
Yeah, sounds great. Let's do it.
So we do actually have a legal bulletin, and Jim Reiser maybe can jump in here because some things do change, and he may be in those changes. But for golf carts in the city of Tampa, they're restricted strictly to Davis Island. And a golf cart basically is something that can't exceed the speed of 20 miles per hour, and they're allowed to ride around on Davis Island. The city ordinance is you have to be 16 years of age in order to ride it. The state law is 14, but the city law is more strict. Unless you have a permit, which would be 15 years old, then you're allowed to ride it. You can cross over other roads to get from point A to point B, kind of thing. If there's a golf course or something, you have to cross the road to get over. I'm sure people have seen lots of that, and that is allowed. Now the low speed vehicles, they are required. Golf carts are not required to have lighting, brake lights, any of that stuff. They're not required to be registered. You're not required to have a license unless you're driving them at night. Then you're required to have the lighting and windshields and such of nature. The low speed vehicles have to have everything a car has. They have to be registered, they have to be insured, and you have to be licensed. And their speeds are greater than 20 miles per hour, but they are restricted from driving on roads with a speed limit of 35 or less. But they are required to follow all the laws, all the rules, the same as any other vehicle as far as registration, licensing, lighting, brake lights, tail lights, seat belts. all that stuff. And also, because I'm a DUI unit, just so everybody's aware, they are subject to DUI arrest if they are driving drunk or impaired. They will go to jail the same as anyone else. But I don't know what other issues or questions people had about it, specific to golf carts or low speed vehicles. I can take any questions. Everybody has any question about it.
I do.
ROI.
I do. So I live in the city too, in Seminole Heights, and so we have some illegal use. I guess it's illegal, but I really was wondering if you know of whether that is the allowance will extend beyond Davis Island. I think these are really good options than everyone getting in their car to take a short trip. They're low so that the crashes that may happen between them wouldn't be very serious. I don't know. I feel like I feel like these might be good options in the future, if not now, like on our local roads. Anyway, that's just my opinionating.
Yeah, with Davis Island, it's a little, it's one way in, one way out. You don't have any state roads cutting in between. If you're in Seminole Heights, you're looking at Florida, Tampa Street, Hillsborough, all that. You would have golf carts anyways. I just don't see that as something the city would probably do or be viable unless it's in a specific little area. I don't know exactly what area you're referring to, but I don't think that would work. Again, low speed vehicle, you can do that. There's most of the roads over there in the Seminole Heights area, with the exception of Hillsborough, Florida, Tampa, all your little side streets there, you could use a low speed vehicle. And again, even with a low speed vehicle, you can cross over
Gotcha.
those state roads to get to the other road. So that wouldn't be an issue. So if you want to get a low speed vehicle, it's similar to a golf cart. It's just a little faster and it's got all the lights. It's got a seatbelt, and I'm assuming you got a driver's license, so it would still be good. But the golf carts, I don't think would be viable over there. And and maybe Jim Reiser can jump in, and he deals with city councils and everything over there. He might have a better feel for them, but I just don't see that as something that would be viable over there in Seminole Heights.
Yeah, Gina, it's Jim Reiser, TPD. The Davis Island, they lobbied city council and they got it approved, and there are certain parameters to operate unlicensed. So they don't necessarily qualify for a low speed vehicle, but they have some features of a low speed vehicle, just for traffic safety. There's nothing that would preclude anybody, because I mean, most of your feeder streets in the city of Tampa now are in that 30, 35-ish speed limit range. And then your residential streets, of course, are 25 or even sometimes lower, depending on how the roadway is configured. So they could operate a low-speed vehicle on those roads. No, there would be no issue. The thing is that there is a little bit more cost involved, and the problem that we're having with the messaging is that while it was good on Davis Island, it seems to be working. I don't get a lot of traffic complaints about the golf carts on Davis Island, but what happened was a lot of people, they're not drawing, well, if Davis Island can have it, why can't New Suburb Beautiful have it, or why can't Bayshore Beautiful have it? So they're operating those golf carts down there, and they are illegal, because it's not permitted in that area. It's the same with the scooters. The scooters are not permitted on Bayshore. So I mean, but the thing is, you can't geofence, the rentable scooters downtown. They're geofenced for Bayshore and 7th Avenue, where they shouldn't function out there. If somebody buys a golf cart, they can use it anywhere. And while I do think it is a viable option for a lot of standpoints, but when you're operating it and it doesn't have the required safety gear, and it could be a problem if they do get into a crash with a motor vehicle, and that's why the low speed vehicle statute stands. So the city would have to create an ordinance for like Seminole Heights or those other neighborhoods that would want that, and it would have to go before city council and they'd have to ratify it. But it's created a problem in areas that they're not permitted, like Davis Island, that I deal with complaints on. And I have had complaints ranging from minors operating these things we've had to address. And we don't go out and look to hammer people with tickets, but we definitely try and get them in compliance with the city ordinance. So it's a work in progress. Everybody wants to try these different mobility options, and that's fine, but we've had some growing pains with just about everything we tried. So it's the scooter thing seems to have calmed down downtown. I'm sure the golf cart once people are aware of where they're permitted, that'll calm down too. But I know there are more neighborhoods that want the ability to use them. So.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for that input. Melissa, I'm gonna stop. I jumped in and shared because I wanted to see what a low-speed vehicle was, so I'd thrown up some images. Wow, those are pretty cool, and they're a little more expensive than I would have expected. But I'm gonna stop sharing so you can share your agenda screen instead of me sharing my agenda screen. And you had your hand raised. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I think this whole topic was brought up, I want to say at the December in-person meeting. I think her name was Karen, brought this up because she was worried because she saw a golf cart with several people in it and there was a baby in like a carrier. And I think that, she was very worried about that whole situation. Like what is the law concerning a baby carrier not strapped in? Like what sort of thing is that? So I think that's where this whole conversation spurred from.
Oh, thank you.
So
I didn't make that meeting, so I'm sorry if I was like belaboring the topic, but I find it really
No.
interesting.
Oh, no, it is. And it's unfortunate that she's not on the call because she would have found what they said very, very useful.
Lisa, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, given I have a land use perspective too, and I just had out of town guests and they were asking about it, and everybody initially thinks golf carts are so amazing. And I'm like, yeah, but there's like other implications besides them, terrorizing the streets illegally because they're all over the place. But like in my neighborhood, then we have like their parking. They don't park correctly. I mean, there's a lack of parking and people complain about vehicular parking citywide. And then now you want to introduce these other vehicles. So then you have like 2 vehicles per household to deal with and stuff. And then, we're working so hard on sustainability issues. Do we really want to, well, I guess a lot of them are electric, but they still pull power and stuff. So, there's just a lot of things to think through with golf carts and
Good
their
points.
impact. Yeah.
Jim.
So, I was involved in that conversation in December about the child that was riding on the mother's lap in the golf cart up McDill Avenue. That's exactly what the complaint involved. And I mean, it's illegal. I mean, she cannot do that. That's not permitted to be operated in that area. And my first question was, call the police. A lot of people don't want to do that, because they're just trying to have fun, but can we do anything about it? Yeah, I mean, officers need to educate that person right there and be like, look, you're exposing yourself to injury, potential problems with interactions with other vehicles on the road. Mm-hmm. And we can educate them, let them know that this is not permitted. But it's just, and those are the things. That's a lot of times when I get these complaints like that. Well, what do we do? Well, I mean, did you call the police? I mean, we may not be able to respond right away, and that person might have left the area, and that's fine. The officer will eventually get there and ride through. And if anything, maybe they'll say, because most of the people that are stopped, they know that they're not supposed to be riding that on the street. If it's not considered a low speed vehicle, they acknowledge that, but they think it's harmless. I mean, and it's everybody, the majority think, well, this is harmless. What's going to happen? I'm in a golf cart. Well, if a drunk driver hits you head on McDill Avenue, then it's going to be really, really bad. You have no protection in those things from a crash. I mean, very, very limited. So, it's just, we ask people to call and let us know when they see it, and we'll take action, and if we can get there in time and intercept them. That's got to be the message. But, I see these becoming more prevalent over time, and, I haven't heard of any recent ordinances that are being expanded to include other neighborhoods, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time before that happens. So.
Well, thank you, Jim and Matthew. Is there anything else under education, anything from our emergency management folks online, or anything else that we can share under this item? If not,
this is Corporal White again. I have one more thing.
Fantastic.
So obviously DUI is my thing, but our DUI unit does extensive education with all the city schools, the public schools, and recently our education in DUI is just absolutely fantastic, and it makes a huge difference and these kids drinking and driving, which we all know leads to crashes, fatalities, the whole smorgasbord. So we have never done private schools within the city. So we are making a big push now and getting with the private schools. So now we have Academy of Holy Names that we will be doing education at. We are working with Jesuit to try to work to do education with them. And then from there, we're going to go over to Tampa Catholic and Tampa Prep to start adding our education. This will be yearly. We'll be doing this regularly through the FDOT grant to try to add these 4 extra schools, because obviously they're in the city, and just because they're private, they shouldn't be left out of it. It's important to get these kids educated on the dangers of drinking and driving, and get them educated and ready to go, so they're driving and they're driving safely. So I just wanted
That's
to add that in there, that
great.
there's a big push to do that. So
It's really good news to share. Thank you. That's fantastic. I saw little clapping hands down here. Someone added. I forgot you can do little reactions. Anything
So
else?
this is Ryder again, not to one up my
Go do it.
but so no, they've been doing that. I talked to Sergeant Belmonte about that, and they're very passionate about getting into those schools, and that's going to possibly create the doorway for other things to happen with interactions with the police. We've done something a little new. Officer Roy Paz, he's kind of my PR guy for my squad. He was reached out by TICO, and we've done approximately 200 of their employees a aggressive driving, distracted driving work zone, kind of an all-encompassing safety program, to make them aware of what the actual laws are, and then to try and make sure that they're operating safely within their parameters and what to look out for. And it's been well received. I'd like to add more for the work zone side of it, but I mean, they are covered under that Florida state statute when they have that, an operation going out there, whether they're doing, installing new utilities or repairing existing. So we're making inroads with some of the private business entities in the area. And I think that's important, because the schools go a long way, but sometimes the adults need to hear the same message, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it's a harder audience to reach, because you've got the kids captured at school, but it's really hard to find, to get that message out. And I love that TICO's kind of open their doors for you guys to do that. Any other education?
Because TICO, they do a lot for us for this, for the CTST, as far as, if we get a pedestrian issue, I can refer back to Hillsborough Avenue in 2017, 2018, when we were having an unbelievable amount of pedestrians hit on that roadway, especially west of Dale Mabry, and they stepped up with the street lighting. So I think it's important to keep that partnership open. So hopefully we build on that in the future.
Definitely. We actually had a meeting with one of their employees. I don't remember what level he was at, but he had read about the high injury network and these top 50 corridors. And, we can pull all kinds of data on whether the crash was, during low lighting times. And I mean, I just love that open, the openness to help. And they have money. I think, I don't know, I shouldn't speak for TICO. So let's move to enforcement. Let's hear a little bit about the crash stats. I have one thing I'd like to ask after we get through everyone else's input. So any updates from law enforcement, from all of the agencies, even the USF folks, and crash stats? Who'd like to add?
Gina, I'll pull up the crash stats. So far, year to date for 2023, Hillsborough County, total crashes, we're looking at 5147, 129 of those serious injuries, and 20 fatalities year to date.
You don't happen to have at your fingertips last year? I mean, I always like kind of to see how we're doing compared to like a year before, but maybe next time we can do it that way. Oh,
yeah.
Melissa,
Next time. Oh, Melissa, do you have that from year to date?
Say it again. Say what the numbers you said again.
The total 5147, serious injuries 129, and fatalities are 20.
I have the crash map. Do you want me to bring that up?
Sure, bring it on up. You didn't send it to me, so I couldn't. I pulled this up in Signal 4.
Yeah, I love Signal 4, and it's just as easy to find. I can find it myself. I just didn't know if you had it right there to announce.
Yeah. So kudos to Melissa and her team that put this, great map together every month for us and our meetings that go into it. Oh my gosh, that's so tiny, Melissa. I can't see it.
What is that, Hillsborough Avenue?
There you go. So the great
Wow.
map that we have here will show all the pedestrians that we have. There was a significant amount of pedestrians
In
just
town and
cruising through
country.
Singapore. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, our
Do you want me to
bicycles and
talk about it?
pedestrians. Yeah, please. So our bicycle and pedestrians account for 10 of the fatalities so far, so half.
And as far as being the mode, there's not that many people biking and walking in comparison, so that's really high. Melissa, did you want to add something? Your hand is up.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Sorry. I'll raise my hand.
Law enforcement, looks like Jim, I don't know if that's a new hand raise or if you can speak if you meant to raise your hand. Any other enforcement topics or updates?
So I have also CBT stats, central breath testing stats for January. So January 2023, there were a total of 325 arrestees that came through central breath testing. Of those 325, Melissa, I'll talk slow for you. Of those 325, 182 tested, 144 refused. So we're sitting at a 44% refusal rate. The average BAC was 0.141. And the highest age group we're still sitting at our 21 to 34 range on that. That was of the 325, 163 of them were in that 21 to 34 age range.
Any law enforcement want to add anything else? I do have a question for law enforcement. So if no one else jumps in. So every February, we have to ask our board, which is county commissioners and the mayors of Temple Terrace, Plant City, to adopt this safety target. So we kind of track with a 5-year rolling average of fatalities, and we do other stats too, but that's the one I'm going to focus on. And 2021 was so horrible that it looks like we're doing so much better, although just that it was so horrible, but we have decreased, and that's always good. And hopefully we'll continue to trend down, but you're still asking an official to say, okay, well, our target this year is that we'll only kill 211 people. Like, it's just not a comfortable conversation to have, which is good, that maybe more, budget decisions will be based on that, so it's a good thing that we're talking about it. But I had a question from our board member. He used to be in law enforcement. It's the mayor of Temple Terrace. I don't think he minds that he brought this up. And it's kind of a touchy, uncomfortable topic for me, but he was wondering if we track traffic stops, like speed related traffic stops, or maybe there was other reasons why a person might have been pulled over, and his thought was based on some of the equity issues that have surfaced over the last handful of years, with targeting or, targeting certain populations or race, that law enforcement might have been weary to pull people over. And was that a reason that was contributing to the increase in speeding crashes and fatals? And it was an interesting thought. I don't know if I can track back through the crash data and know, or maybe you guys have that kind of data to know that there were less speeding related traffic pullovers or, stops.
So I can tell you this, and then maybe Jim can pipe in for what Tampa PD does. So on the highway patrols, it's statewide, and we've done it for 20 plus years. Every single traffic stop that is conducted there's a traffic stop data report that's done. So it's just in conjunction with whatever you do with that traffic stop. And it's the totality of the stop. So why you pulled them over, what you wrote them for, if there was arrest, if you searched the vehicle, and if you searched the vehicle, why did you search the vehicle, whether it was consent or you smelled it or whatever that went back to. And then also in conjunction with that is the sex and race of the driver. So this started 20 plus years ago, just as as a study, and it was supposed to only be for a few years, but they've kept it going. So you could actually pull that data on the state level and go back and say, 20% of, all Asian females are pulled over because they're speeding, or, whatever that data is going to be. And it'll break it down like that, just that you can say that, we're not searching just every vehicle or every other vehicle, or why we're searching these vehicles, and then what we do with these vehicles once we search them and get into that. And I'm sure most agencies have something similar, but I'm not sure that's just what the Highway Patrol does.
That's really helpful. That's great. So I could
Mhm.
compare a certain year to a more recent year to see if those numbers have changed and make some correlations possibly to increase in speeding deaths. I don't know. I think it's hard to say that specifically. There's so many other things that go into the data or why a crash happens. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to talk to him about his question to me, and I think I know where to go next.
Well, Gina, this is Jim Reiser, TPD, and so myself, Corporal White, and Sergeant Belmonte, DUI, and there's a couple other people apply for these traffic grants that we get from enforcement. And I'm going to use that as an example as far as tracking statistics. So 2020 crashes, the total number of crashes were way off from the 5-year average compared to going back to 2015 to 2019, if you want to use that as a metric to compare. But the fatalities, so my fatalities in the city stayed the same between 2019 and 2020. You would think that with a corresponding drop off in crashes, which was significant, total reported crashes because the traffic volumes were just not in place, were all of a sudden, you think the fatalities and serious injuries would drop, and that's not the case. And it was due probably to people, hey, look at this, I got no traffic, I can do 30 over the speed limit with impunity, because honestly, the police department was for several months redirected to a lot of the pandemic duties. We had things that we had to handle security wise, especially when the vaccination sites came up and things like that, to make sure that those were secure. I mean, just managing the stadium, if you remember going back when they were doing the vaccinations and the testing, that was a logistical nightmare and required a lot of manpower. And we got the job done, but unfortunately, some of our duties were redirected because of that.
Yeah.
Flash forward to 2021, Florida reopens pretty much. And it probably actually started around August, September of 2020. I mean, things started coming back online. I got family in Michigan. We had nowhere near the shutdowns here that they had up there. The mayor of Tampa made some good decisions as far as keeping like restaurants open, letting them serve and opening the streets up and letting them do outside dining and things like that. And then the governor did some good decisions as far as reopening the pandemic. And here we are, one of the fastest growing states, if not the fastest growing state in the United States. So my fear is, 2021, you saw a huge spike in fatalities. You saw the crash numbers go back up to pretty much pre-pandemic levels. And, you had, and it's like I said in the motorcycle training, if you don't operate a motorcycle, and I think it translated to vehicles, it's a perishable skill, and people, just some of the driving actions we saw were just, you've been driving for 20 years. Why are you doing that now? And it's, all of a sudden this traffic's back and you see the crashes spike. So, tracking statistics, I think the pandemic years 2020 and 2021 are going to be challenging for comparison purposes for a while.
Yeah, but I think you've offered some really good perspective on why. So that helps.
Right. And what I'm hoping we don't have is a new, I hate to use a standard because you're talking about human lives and families being impacted when people are killed, but I'm hoping we're not setting a new average by, with all this extra population and volume on the roadway, is our base number, if you want to call it that, because, face it, we look at statistics, that's what it is. Is it going to be higher going forward? I don't know. Hopefully we can do the right programs and get it down below what it was pre-pandemic and keep driving it down. But it's going to be an interesting few years ahead, in my opinion, as far as statistics go and getting the crashes under control. And I don't know if Corporal White has anything to add to that from the DUI perspective, but I want to say DUIs our crashes went way up in 2021 too in that area.
Yeah, that's all really good perspective. And we are all on this call because we care about this topic, and in our own individual professions, we can each make an impact. And I believe, I'm not rosy glass. Well, I really am, but I don't think that it's impossible to keep reducing. We just have to keep working on this all together. If someone, I can't tell if someone else raised their hand, but if we can move on, if there's anything else for enforcement before I do that. we'll go to engineering. Oh, we have something in the chat. Janice, oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that was me. So we could talk about them in open forum. I just wanted to put the highway safety matrix on there as we're in our final stages of grant writing here. And I know I heard a grant writer from Hillsborough County on there, so I just wanted to touch base on that, but we can do that later on.
Okay, it's really good. Okay, who from the county, city, whoever on the engineering aspects, let us know what's going on in that avenue. I will pick on you, Abigail.
I can go real quick, Gina.
Who is this?
Kelly with City of
hey,
Tampa.
Kelly. Thank you.
I just wanted to mention that we were awarded a new federal grant to improve Ashley Drive interchange. So we're really excited about that and excited to partner with FDOT on it. We're still in the early stages of, we just found out the news and everything like that, but just wanted to mention this will be a big project that the city is going to be undertaking.
Why are we setting around when I have food, Mason?
Who's just spoke? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Sorry, Kelly, I pulled up this to share with everyone. Who just spoke? I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Boring meeting.
Did you want to? Hi, did you want to add something else?
So the one this afternoon is by Zoom also.
I think their mic is accidentally on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll stop sharing now. Just wanted to share that. Thank you, Kelly, for sharing that. And by the way, I was going to ask both the county staff and the city to speak up during the Vision Zero about your other grant award. But any other engineering updates? Abigail, I don't know if you're still on, but if there's anything that you want to share, or Scott, about some of your work around the county.
Okay. Yeah, so the Mango Road, well, we have all these different compartments of engineering. So we have the Vision Zero, and the Mango Road is the project that's the farthest along in the Hillsborough County Safety Program. So that's on the High Entry Network, and we are at 30% design. So we're making great progress on that. I think everybody's going to be happy with the new corridor. So we want to complete that design this year. And we did kick off for unsignalized intersections. So that's a safety program in Hillsborough County. Why? Well, because the #1 crash type in Hillsborough County is angle crashes, which predominantly happens at intersections. So we have an unsignalized intersection safety program. So we've already ranked thousands of county unsignalized intersections. Recall, we use that approach where we analyze the whole network of Hillsborough County roadways. So we've ranked all of them. We looked at 150 unsignalized intersections, the top 150, and we identified that there's patterns, there's attributes of these unsignalized intersections that keep repeating themselves in the 150. So we grabbed 3 of them that are repeat for high risk and high exposure and high crashes. So now that we have those 3 patterns, we're going through and we're going to identify treatments that we can put in the ground that are quick implementation. So signing, pavement markings, and delineators, RPMs, which are the rumble strips in the street. So there's treatments that we want to identify that we can deploy systemically. So just deploy them anytime we have an intersection that looks like this. So that's a proactive way that we can get ahead of the fatal and severe. So we don't want to be reacting all the time. That is a component of what we do, but we want to be out in front. So we have started working with 30 locations to do project development, like come up with the design plans with what we're going to implement there. So excited about that. And we completed our tool for the selection of target speed. So if you guys want to take a look at that and mess with it and see what you get, you can put in information and then it spits out an appropriate target speed. And these are based on the Complete Streets Manual target speed ranges.
Do you have a link that you can share in the chat for that?
It is a spreadsheet, so if you email
Okay.
me, then I can provide it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, the county's doing a lot too, so thank you. I know that's just a couple of, examples, really. Anything from DOT or even our smaller cities on some engineering work being done? I would like to, yeah, who's this? Who is that?
Yeah, this is Fred Baxter with Plant City. I can speak for a couple things we got going on.
Awesome. Go ahead, Fred.
So we're right now we're looking at possibly putting the power outage emergency beacons at 22 intersections similar to that of Hillsborough County. We have done some intersection improvements at 11 intersections. We have converted them to all-way intersections along with marking and pedestrian upgrades for those intersections. And we are in the process of designing our first raised crosswalk. It's going to be installed over at the location of Waller Avenue, where the Boys and Girls Club, and also crosses over to Snowden Park, which is a high pedestrian area. City's always had an ongoing policy to not install speed humps or raised crosswalks. So this is a big step forward for Plant City. So kind of excited to see how this one turns out. Hopefully it can be the start of many. Yeah. And other than that, we do have some signalization projects that are getting ready, but we are still in the appropriation stages for funding, so not really going to dive into those right now.
Your mayor is pretty active on our TPO board too, and he's a great guy, and I'm going to make sure I compliment. So maybe there'll be opportunities to do more of those.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's really great.
And one other thing, if there's anybody on here with Hillsborough County engineering, maybe after this meeting, we can exchange emails or something and have a offline conversation in regards to a location at south frontage, north frontage that intersects with Charlie Taylor Road. Having a lot of crash issues out there that I'd like to kind of speak with Hillsborough County about, if that's possible. If anybody
Abigail,
on here.
Yeah, maybe you and Abigail can at least.
Okay.
Fred, this is Scott.
Oh, hey, Scott.
With Hillsborough County and Traffic Engineering, and we'll get in contact.
Okay. That'll work.
Great. Anything from DOT? I don't know if Temple Terrace has specific road projects going on. They actually, most of the major roads in their community are state and county, but speak up if there's anyone from Temple Terrace that wants to talk about an engineering project or DOT. I will compliment the DOT for allowing our staff here at the TPO to have access to their electronic review comments. It's an online, well, you guys might know what it is already, but we didn't. But they have all the projects listed and we could comment on them at various stages of development. Like there's a resurfacing project and we can point out that there's a high injury crash hotspot on there. Could you spend a little bit more time looking at the intersection or something? That kind of thing we can comment. Lisa, you're reminding me, can you share what our study is? We're kicking off a study here that Lisa can tell you about.
Sure. I was going to either do it here or under Vision Zero because Vision Zero is in the title. So we're getting ready to kick off with two of our jurisdictions, City of Tampa and Hillsborough County, two more Vision Zero streets studies. So clicking away on that high injury network, zooming in to do some detailed review and make recommendations, which then helps speed pursuit of the grants or cues it up into the next stage of engineering processing. Like Abigail just mentioned Mango Road. It was one we did a couple of years ago with a similar process. So then it helps get them ready for the next phases. So do you want me to go ahead and move into the school transportation updates since I think we're done
Sure,
with
why not?
engineering?
Yeah, and
Okay.
yes, that'd be great.
Okay. Also, very excited about the 2 awards for Safe Streets for All, because some of our school recommendations got fed into those grant applications. So very excited to pursue the implementation of those. Some other implementation good news is we have had the East Tampa CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency, approach us about they would like to have a community event and do a painted mural intersection. They learned of our school transportation safety study, so they targeted one of the schools that is in that CRA. So it looks like Potter Elementary is going to get several of those low-cost paint saves lives recommendations implemented through a partnership with that CRA. Very stoked about the project that Brenton mentioned earlier, because a lot of the school messaging that was part of the education and encouragement section of that school transportation study is going to help inform the geofencing in and around the schools that are along those corridors he mentioned. So excited about that partnership. We love our Sidewalk Stompers program. They contacted us about could they use the graphics that were developed in that study. So I said, of course. So we were texting back and forth last night. So I'm going to follow up with them later today. Let's see what else I have. Making friends with some school resource officers at lacrosse games. So following up on some recommendations there. So I think that handles it for school transportation for me. Oh, last thing, if you guys want a detailed presentation of this Tampa school safety study that I keep mentioning, I'm glad to queue up and be part of a presentation at a future meeting. I just need to know who and how to do that.
Yeah, that does bring up the topic that I was interested in finding out if this group would like. Occasionally we used to have presentations, just kind of a little more in-depth than just, mentioning what we're talking about. Like updates like we're giving, where we have maybe 10 minutes where we hear a little bit more about something that was really cool or interesting or helpful. So, I mean, when I run the meeting, I guess I would squeeze in 10 minutes for that. But we also, I'd like to finish every time. I think our goal is to be out of this meeting by 11. It's at least how I have noted it on my agenda or on my calendar. So I don't know if we're supposed to be done at 10:30 or 11, but 11 is my goal. And if we do, I think we could bring in and have some really cool presentations here and there. So I'll talk to Mike about that and Melissa or Bob Campbell and see how you feel about it. Because Lisa did a great job on that study. And I know there's other ones like the golf cart topic could have been a presentation if we had some information on that or whatever. So maybe you'll see that on your agenda in the future. There'll be like a special presentation. So any other school transportation items from anyone else on this call? Rashid, do you want to talk about the HSIP updates? You have to unmute.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so as always, we're working on material requests from cities and counties. So if you have any material requests, as always, email it to me. I work with Bill Reha on that. And we have been working on, the HSIP portal has been worked on, and Melissa and some other people are working, and Emmett are working on it. So that's gonna happen pretty soon, that we can use the portal again. Meanwhile, if you have any applications that you want to send through, email it to me and I'll send it forward and work on it. We have been working on some safe strides to zero intersections, and that's being under review. And as always, if you have any questions, any way I can help you with HSIP applications, I'll be more than happy to. I don't know if anyone is working on any STEPS applications, but I haven't gotten any or haven't been involved in any. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to our last update would be on Vision Zero. And I was really hoping, just very briefly, Kelly or Abigail, or both of you, could talk a little bit about the application and the award that you received for the Safe Streets and Roads for All. I'm hoping, Kelly, are you still on here?
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
We're really excited about this other grant opportunity that we have gotten from FHWA for Safe Streets for All. So it's a $20 million federal grant. And 75% of the funds is going to go to disadvantaged community areas. So we have a project map and more information on our website. I can try and post a link in the chat. We're still in the early stages of really doing the whole scopes, but projects lined up for construction include like 14th Street in Ybor, Main Street, and really focusing on pedestrian safety and safer speeds.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It was competing with everyone in the country, and for the Hillsborough County and the city of Tampa to receive these, a pretty substantial amount, was really great. Abigail, did you want to add anything about the county's application?
It's a great time to be in our region, right? We got these monies and we're in the same region. So in the next 4 years, these projects need to be completed and evaluated. So post studies need to be completed within 5 years. So we need to get them in the ground at the latest 4, because really we should have a year or 2 of observations to report on their impact in increasing safety. So can I share the screen? I want to share the map with you. Would that be all right, Gina? All right.
Yeah, you can take over, I think, without me. Or can you? Are you able to?
Let's give her a try. How's that?
Yep.
Can you see? Okay, great. So this is from our application. So we have 22 projects, right? And the yellow lines on the map are the high injury network corridors. And then the blue colors and the orange are our projects. So you can see, we know that, right? The Northwest is problematic in the county with safety. And then also in the Southwest. Yes. No, the Southeast. I do know my East and West. So these projects here, 1 through 22, are the pedestrian corridor retrofit. So remember I was telling you about our PED program. So that for example, like the Bloomingdale right here, number 8. So that is a PED corridor, right? We want to improve that for PED safety access. So we're talking about mid-block crosswalks. We're talking about on lower speed collectors, some race crosswalks, reducing the turning radius, some LPIs, right? So making sure at intersections that drivers are slowed down so PEDs can safely access the intersection. And then the other program that's represented here is the Safe Access to Transit. So with our limited transit, we want to make sure that people are able to access the stops safely. So we have those projects scoped out. So those are going to include bike and PED improvements, because we know people use bike and PED to get to these transit stops. So you can look for similar improvements there, mid-block crossings, and wayfinding also. So when they get off of the transit, they know which way is the shopping and which way are the services that they want to access. And then we have Vision Zero. So 20% of our projects are Vision Zero. We know Vision Zero is for all roadway users. So that's drivers, pets, and bicyclists. So like Mango Road that's in design now. So this is 18 is Mango Road. So this is for the construction of Mango Road. 78th is a Vision Zero, Gibsonton, Lynn Turner, and Sheldon. So these are our 18 through 22 Vision Zero, and the rest is PED and transit access. And our golden trophy here is our Safe Routes to School projects. So projects 1 through 5 are in school zones. So an update is that we are in design for Lido, Pierce, and Alexander. So we are in capital improvement design for that. So you'll see a chicane, some raised crosswalks. And then schools 2 through 5, well, 2, 3, and 5 are in project development. So we have deployed an engineering army to study these schools with where are students walking, how are drivers and all roadway users, ped and bikes behaving. And we're engaging the schools and sidewalk stoppers and Cutter and FDOT, and all of the stakeholders are going to be in the meeting. And it's really good way to conduct a project because there's stakeholder engagement and then we go through community engagement. So stay tuned for our update on that. So $20 million for 22 projects, not a bad deal. And I was just talking at the marketing of professional services annual luncheon yesterday, and I told the consultants, hey, we need a lot of help. We need an army of engineers and planners and project managers to make this successful. So looking forward to coordinating with everybody on the call as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. What I heard that I really I'm excited about everything, but the before and after studies really help us as staff to push for prioritizing some of these treatments. And if we can't show that they were really effective, then they won't get funded in the future, or maybe, you know, it'll seem skeptical. So I really like that we'll have some good before and afters to kind of, you know, give confidence in us pushing for certain projects and funding for those. We have 14 minutes left. If there's any other Vision Zero updates, jump in. Otherwise, we'll get to the calendar updates. And I know that Brenton's already told us about the March 17th bike with the Temple Terrace mayor. Anybody else want to share some calendar updates? Anything? We've already talked about the golf cart. So really we can just open up this time of the agenda just to talk about whatever you'd like to, and any old business. Anyone?
Hey, Gina, Janice here. Yeah, just want to touch base on the highway safety grants that are available. That's going to be open for concept papers through the end of the month. So we have a few days left to get those in. In the chat box, I actually put the link to the county matrix that's on there. Hillsborough County, kudos to them, or kudos to all of us really for coming down in our numbers, where we used to be #1 across the board. We're no longer #1. Same thing with Tampa PD. We used to be #1 in every single emphasis area. We're now 2, 3, and 4. So it's good that we are going up in our numbers. It's showing that our efforts are definitely working. I heard that we do have some grant writers that are on the phone. If you need anything, I am available through the end of the month to help out with anything that we need. We talked about it in another meeting. Hillsborough County SO is getting a new Batmobile, so that's going to be on this grant cycle now. The concept papers that are being written now will not go into effect until October 1st. So kind of getting a jump on it now for next fiscal year.
Great, good news. Other announcements? Any other calendar updates? Anything else? If not, we will adjourn the meeting early.
We need to get the approval for the minutes.
Oh, yes, the minutes. So I know that you have spent time reading those while we were chatting. Could I have, Janice, your mic is off, so I'm just going to point to you. Would you like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I will make a motion to approve.
Anyone out there want a second?
Mr. Riser, second.
Thank you. And unless there's any opposition, we don't have to go through ayes and all that stuff, but unless you have a concern about them, we'll consider those approved. All right, thank you so much. Sorry, Melissa, I forgot about that. I should have remembered. Okay, well, take care, everyone. Have a great afternoon or a great day today.
Bye, guys.
Everybody.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.